What's up, everybody? Britton Peel here for GuideLive.com and the Dallas Morning News. I'm here with Todd Porter and Jim Galis with Boardcraft. Guys, I'm really geeking out at everything that's in front of me because it's it's a cool tabletop setup. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing specifically?
Well, everything you see in front of you is 3D printed, and what we're doing is establishing kind of an operating system for 3D printing where gamers can create their own assets, 3D print them, and then they all plug into a standardized system so that the system, I don't know if we can see it, but the system allows people to plug these bases in. The bases all have the same pattern. And as a result, when you game, you can build a board and it stays together when you game. We are actually kickstarting for the tool that enables you to do this, but in the Kickstarter we're offering, this is Necrovirus. This is a dungeon, a zombie apocalypse game, and it's been well received at Gen Con, at QuakeCon. We have lines of people playing it, and that's the game that you'll get on our Kickstarter. And we are also offering our fantasy dungeon tiles. This is really for 15 millimeter play, and this is for 28, or what we call heroic scale play. But again, everything's 3D printed, so you can, you build the world before you play in it. So it's pretty involved. The idea is that the gamers can build their dungeon and then game, or they can build Necrovirus. And in the case of Necrovirus, we actually in the missions give you layouts so that we'll tell you, in this case it's not a square, it's a rectangular shape, or it's kind of a T-shaped map, etc. And then the missions tell you what you have to do. The coolest part about this is that 3D printing is really starting to hit mainstream now. The first, what I call Apple II 3D printer, which is the Lulzbot, which everything you see here has been printed on the Lulzbot Mini. It's a $1,300 printer, but it has auto leveling, a heated bed. It has all the things you need in a 3D printer. We're now transitioning from everybody building their 3D printer to actually being able to buy a commercial 3D printer that can actually print a large volume. And the second part of the kind of mythology of 3D printing is that it's expensive. If you take, for instance, our cathedral piece right here, this cathedral piece, it's very involved. It's got a tremendous amount of detail. And it's about $3.80 of material, so wow. It's really inexpensive to do. So, for instance, on a slow entry-level 3D printer, the cathedral will take about 9 hours to print. But on the faster ones that have emerged this year, take the same model, takes about 3 hours to print. So we know that's always going to come down. We know that right now it's monochrome. They're just introducing the first color 3D plastics. So. Into 3D printing. Every year you're going to see Moore's Law have an effect. Prices are going to go down, speed's going to go up, and it's going to be full color. So we're getting in on the front, on the wave, and the idea behind our Kickstarter is to not only raise funds to build out Boardcraft, but also to establish a market and really introduce gamers. So we've been traveling the country. We did QuakeCon here in Dallas. We're just back from Gen Con this weekend. We're going to be at RTX in Austin next week. And we're just spreading the word that, look, this is an amazing technology. What we're seeing that I think is the most impressive is our demographic range is incredibly wide. We see little kids that are 5 years old are fascinated with the models and come up and hold them, and we have giveaways of little buildings and stuff for the kids. And then we have all the college kids or high school, college age, and they're of course fascinated with it. But at Gen Con, we saw a significant number of the 40 to 60-year-olds.
So do you foresee a future where instead of going to the store and getting a box of components, everyone's just going to be printing everything they need to play their favorite tabletop games?
Well, I think, yeah, and I think that's what we're really showing. I mean, before this, you would think, well, I have to buy all these individual pieces, and how much does that cost? To get both of the sets of digital instructions for both of these games for $50 backer fee. So they're not printed, obviously you print them, but for $50 you're getting a tremendous amount of stuff to print.
How user-friendly is it? Because is it going to be a system, right, where you can
design stuff? Boardcraft is going to be a tool. And in Boardcraft, for instance, you'll say, how big an object you want to make. Is it a 2x2? Is it something like this, which is 2x3? Or is it simply a 1x1 object? And then in Boardcraft, you drag over the barrels, you drag the tables, the chairs, you put a couple boxes over here, and you basically print. So in the case of, that's a dinner table, here is a forging where they make weapons.
Sure.
And so a blacksmith room, and all these pieces you just drag onto this square and then print. So we're trying to make it super easy for people to be able to interact and then just press print. In fact, in the software, you'll be able to print on your own 3D printer, but if you don't have a 3D printer, when you press print, it'll send it up to our network of 3D printers, and either you can use a service that is one of our preferred printer partners, or you can actually geolocate somebody who might have a 3D printer in your area and print through them. There's a thing called 3D Hub, which is basically, it's a web site where you can find printers, guys who have 3D printers around you, and that can many times be more affordable than going through some of the bigger services like Shapeways, etc.
Fantastic. So now, why did you guys go the Kickstarter route for this project?
We did the Kickstarter route. As I said, we really didn't. We weren't trying. Our goal was not to try to raise, millions of dollars to develop, a lot of games. We really said we have to first establish a community and get the word out. And so we did that, and we thought, if we put the game, we go Kickstart. Most board games go out in Kickstarter anywhere between $4,000 and $100,000. So we went out for $100,000 and said, look, we'll raise money by offering the backers the actual finished product, Necrovirus, and our dungeon tiles. And in fact, about every week and a half, we introduce a new genre. So we're going to be doing sci-fi tiles, for instance, and terrain tiles, etc. But the idea is to get the backers in, and then, what's neat about this concept is that Kickstarter, typically, you're starting from scratch when the Kickstarter ends, and then the backers have to wait a year to get the product. In the case of Necrovirus, since it's a finished product, we'll be manufacturing 30 days after a successful completion. So we built the game using the underlying engines of Boardcraft, and then we're kickstarting to make that engine user-friendly, pretty it up so that it's ready for prime time.
All right, fantastic. Well, it is on Kickstarter right now. I know that I saw a lot of people at QuakeCon playing it here in Dallas a couple weeks ago. So if anyone's interested, they can check it out on Kickstarter. And thank you guys so much for bringing it on by. It looks really cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.